Good morning. Who's here? I Love Lamps here. Artwork Studios here. I think that's it. All right. Well, good morning, guys. Good to see you. We're back to do some learnings, some Go learnings. First things first, though, we need to pin probably a message here. Let's say, good morning. You have to go to dinner with your fam? That sounds like a blast, man. What are you guys having for dinner? Hello, I Love Lamp. Man, I'm interested to know what is being had for dinner, man. I mean, going out to dinner with the family, that's like it's peak family activity, huh? All right, Discord posted. It's good. We've got our event going. All right. Now we can resume where we left off yesterday. Alrighty, here we go. I do have to stop at like almost exactly 7, maybe 7:15 this morning. I know it's Sunday, but I have to go. I'm taking a family member to the airport for a trip, so I've got to be at their house at like 7:45. And I definitely don't want to be the reason they're late to the airport. In an hour is when I'm coming back. Yeah, man, do your thing, dude. No worries. You guys are totally free to go along about your life. I don't ever expect anybody to sit here and watch me learn how to code. Oh, actually, the other housekeeping thing I need to do, I need to make sure that members scroll text is up to date. I don't think I have any new members. Excuse me. I'm still waiting to hear back from YouTube or Google support or whatever to see if they'll give me programmatic access to the list of members. Let's see. Members list. Nope, there's still just 103, so we're all good. Okay, housekeeping is all taken care of. Now we just need to get caffeinated and try to learn something. It's 11 a.m. for me? Oh, nice. It's 5:20 a.m. for me. Actually, I tried to set up stream elements the other day, and I don't think it worked. Commands? I don't think it worked. But I tried to set up a command in stream elements where yeah, see, it's not working. I tried to set one up so that you could just say where bro at and it would respond with the time and everything. Unfortunately, this was not successful. I kind of think it's something to do with my YouTube settings. I think it's something I've done, I think, because Nightbot doesn't work and Stream Elements Chatbot doesn't work. So I kind of think it might be something that I've done, but I don't know exactly what I've done. Let's see. One sec. See, it says the bot is in your chat. Well, if the bot's in my chat, it's not responding. But yeah, it's 4:21 a.m. right now. Over here's. How do I? There we go. Where were we yesterday? We were on this topic of maps. Yeah. So we can go to the next one because we successfully passed this. Steven, I got a fix for you. Look above. Hold on, let me see. It worked for me with Nightbot, but it's very delayed. You have to add Stream Elements and Nightbot as YouTube managers. Okay, so Nightbot worked for you? How come I didn't see Nightbot though? So I don't see Nightbot in the chat. Do you see Nightbot in the chat? That's YouTube managers. So are you saying I need to add those? I think I have that set up. You have to add YouTube mod manager. Where do you add that at? I'm trying. I'm like, help me, Lamp. Hey, Steven. Hey, great community. Hope everyone is doing great. Well, good morning, Yasir. We hope you're doing great, man. Glad to have you here. So I think I have Nightbot as a moderator, but I don't think I have Stream Elements as a moderator. Yeah, I definitely have Nightbot as a moderator. Try again here. TypeScript dev learns Go, OMG. Well, I wanted to switch it up. You know, yesterday it was .NET dev learns Go, so today it's TypeScript dev learns Go. Trying to keep them honest. You know what I mean? Ah, it worked. Hey, I love Lamp. You rock. Yeah, it's okay if it's delayed. I think that's plenty okay. You rock, dude. I added him as a moderator in the channel and it worked. Tomorrow's going to be Future Dev Learns Go. Or tomorrow could be Vibe Coder Learns Go. Sorry, I'm responding to some YouTube comments really quick. Tomorrow's gonna be I'm gonna be banned. Yeah, no, just totally, man. Just like clickbait and rage bait the hell out of people. I tell you what, I don't get that on Twitter. Like there is people who are actively embracing this persona of like a shit poster or rage baiter as part of like their personal brand, and I don't understand it. I also think it's shitty that X is kind of leaning into that. You know, I don't know. I think algorithms that amplify that stuff is, I'll never get it. Like, why are we doing that to ourselves as a species? Dude, I'm so glad this. Okay, so the stream elements thing, I added a command because you know everybody always asks me. They're like, "What time is it?" So I think if you type "where bro at," we should get back the weather and the time in a message. I live in Kansas City, Kansas, in the United States. The weather is currently Olathe, United States of America, negative 1.7 degrees Celsius. Why is it reporting in Celsius? I'm an American. Clear wind is blowing from the southwest. That's awesome, dude. This is awesome. We have stream elements back. Or actually, we just have a bot mod back. We used to use Nightbot, but it. All right. Sorry, I wanted to get those comments answered. Time to learn, go. I could try to also make a YouTube stream bot, but it'll take a little bit to code. So yeah, even though it may sound stupid, I'm not gonna lie, have the experience to do it. Yeah, I think a YouTube bot would be fun. We built a Discord bot this year on stream, and it was a ton of fun. So I feel like a Discord bot would be fun. I think it'd be cool to have a Discord bot that's kind of your own personal one. But I do think it would be hard to replicate a lot of the functionality that already exists in like something like Stream Elements, right? Have a good day, guys. Sorry for shit posting. Just wanted to pop up to say hi. Hello, Gun. Hey, man, I will never judge you for the way you want to live your online life. I don't understand it. You know what I mean? You're a human being with free will. You can do what you please. I mean, Python has it, including C#, maybe. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, sorry. YouTube definitely has a C# SDK that you can use to interact with their API. I mean, but you could also implement the functionality yourself, right? I mean, that's what we did with Discord. We just implemented the Discord gateway connection ourselves. Nice, you coding both? Very cool. Nothing wrong with that, man. Alright, here we go. We're talking about functions today. Functions are values too. They can be passed around like other values. Functions may be used as function arguments and return values. That just means functions can be higher order. So like right here, you have a compute function that takes a function with this signature, which I'm assuming, just inferring everything I know about Go so far, this means that the function that compute accept takes two floats, two arguments of type float64, and then it returns a float64. And then compute returns a float64. So it basically compute takes the function in and then calls the function on some arbitrary numbers, then returns the result. And so this is how you assign a function to a variable. And then pass it to compute. Nice. Well, we love our high order functions, don't we? Let's see, function closures. So Go has closures just like our good friend JavaScript. Hey, what's up, Ashutosh? How are you? Good morning to you as well. Are you caffeinated? Do you have a caffeinated beverage? beside you, or is it not morning for you? Because for me, it's like super early in the morning, but I realize for other people in other time zones, it may not be. Gun, I'll please everyone and just leave and never come back. No, don't leave and never come back, dude. Come back. We'll miss you. Singularity. How are you always live? Well, I'm not always live, but it might appear that way just because for the last couple weeks I've been very consistent at being live at the same time every day. So maybe it appears like that, but I'm not live all the time. I'm only live from like 4:15 a.m. Central Standard Time to about 7 a.m. Central Standard Time. So only about 3 hours almost. I'd love to stream longer. It's just that currently is the best schedule at the moment. I did have an idea yesterday that we have unlimited PTO where I work, and so I had an idea yesterday that maybe in the coming year I should do like a stream week where I do longer extended streams, like take some time off work for like a week and just do a week of just long extended streams. It's an idea I'm kicking around. Excuse me. It's almost 4 o'clock here in my place. Still a coffee right now would be nice, I guess. Yeah, dude, coffee in the afternoon. Let's go. Hey, what's up, Butterscotch? How are you? Good to see you, man. I tried discord.net once, but it wouldn't detect my message contents due to intents, but I tried everything, including AI. Nothing worked. I did everything right, by the way. Huh. Yeah, I think there's 2 popular libraries over there in the .NET world for building Discord bots. The most popular Discord bot library by far is Discord.js. And chat thought I was crazy when I decided not to use it. They were like, why don't you just use Discord.js? Why would you re-implement this all yourself? And it was like, well, it's because it was fun to do. Like, it was fun to understand how they expect you to manage the connection to their gateway, to their WebSocket gateway. But yeah, there is a couple pre-built libraries out there. I've never used them before though. Singularity Abyss. Oh, that's crazy. I guess I'm always on time then. Yeah, you're always on time then. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it can. I mean, I have that feeling sometimes with the guys I follow online. You know, like Tim the Tapman or the Primogen, or who are some other streamers I've been watching a lot lately. There's a guy on Twitch named Tom HB or Tom BH, and it seems like he's always live. It's wild. But I think it's just because people are consistent with their schedules, you know. And because I'm consistent with my schedule, our timing always lines up. You know what I mean? Singularity Abyss, that would be sick. Yeah, I think a stream week would be a lot of fun. So we'll see. We'll see what we can do this coming year in 2026. With having a channel that actually has a little bit of an audience now, it might be worth doing something like that. I think that'd be fun. And maybe we can plan to do like a big project or something that week and spend 40 hours on it and really build something or move something forward. I think that'd be fun. Butterscotch, still waiting for horizontal streams. Dude, I'm sorry. I'm blaming it on YouTube now because I've pretty much made up my mind. I'm not gonna pump a vertical and a horizontal from OBS. So I'm gonna wait on whenever YouTube comes out with its dual format thing. Supposedly they have it, and supposedly they're just rolling it out only to certain people. And so I'm just hoping I eventually get on that short list to have the feature. I mean, you know how Google does it. They roll out features as like almost like a percentage, I think, of the user base. Like they give it to so many people and then make sure that it works okay, and then they slowly expand it. So I'm hoping, because my channel's small, I just haven't gotten access yet, and eventually I will. But they did say it was coming. All right, Go functions may be closures. A closure is a function value that references variables from outside its body. The function may access and assign to the reference variables. In this sense, the function is bound to the variables. Yeah, this when you're first learning to program, right? Especially if your first language is JavaScript, this idea of a closure always comes up, and it's always kind of a mindfuck, just like recursion. But the idea is basically the fact that we've declared the sum here, and then we captured the sum inside this closure of the function we returned, means that this function still continues to have access to this variable. So on subsequent calls to the returned function, right? So we get negative and then positive, right? So now we basically have two captured values. And so what we can do is if we run this, we can see we have 0, 0, then we have 1, -2 because it's 1 raised to -2. So we essentially have two independent values right now that have been captured in the closure because we called adder twice. Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's kind of a weird thing, but it's useful. You know, it's useful to be able to do that. It's how a lot of React hooks work. I'm pretty sure is they use closures to do a lot of the stuff they do. All right, we got an exercise now. Fibonacci closure. Let's have some fun with functions. Implement a Fibonacci function that returns a function, which is a closure, that returns successive Fibonacci numbers. All right, well, what are we going to do here? Run. So what is a Fibonacci sequence to begin with? So we start at 0 and 1, and then we have 1 and 2. So it's always adding the preceding numbers, right? That's basically what we're doing. So it's like 0 and 1 make 1. 1 and 1 make 2. 2 and 1 make 3. 3 and 2 make 5. So it's like the two preceding numbers always give rise to the next number. Hi, Steven. Coffee time for me. I like this vertical stream. Well, glad. I'm glad some... I mean, I know that Butterscotch isn't saying he doesn't like the vertical stream. I just know he would prefer the option to have a horizontal one. And I totally agree. I think people... And I love the way that TikTok has implemented this on their platform. I love this ability to have a vertical layout, and then people can turn their phone sideways and opt into a horizontal when they want. They can go back and forth. Because I think there's times when you probably do want to consume horizontally, but when things are vertically, it makes it a little bit easier to interact with. So I think the platform should just provide the tooling to do it, and not force the creators to do funky things like have two independent streams going that have different formats and whole different chats. That's kind of where my mind's at on it. But I appreciate you saying you like it, man. That's awesome. And also, coffee time indeed, dude. Let's get it. Let's get caffeinated. Ashutosh, by the way, thank you for recommending Free Code Camp yesterday. I've already enrolled myself into their full web development curriculum. Until now, their course feels very nice and helpful. Yeah, the Free Code Camp clan is awesome. And the best part about Free Code Camp is not only do you get plugged into a very structured curriculum that's really well done, but you also get plugged into a very big community. There's tons and tons of people who have gone through Free Code Camp that are now working in the tech world, both at big companies and small companies. And so you sort of are becoming a part of a community that hopefully you'll be able to network with and build upon whenever you're ready to take your, whatever your next step is. Free Code Camp has a very active Discord. I would recommend you go join that. They have a very active community page on their website, which is great. So if you get stuck, you need help, you need advice, those places are full of people who are... It's kind of a smorgasbord. They're full of people who are both on the same journey as you, but they're at different points of that journey, right? So you have people that are at the beginning, maybe like you, who are just starting out. You have people that are maybe a year or two in, and then you have people who have already been out there working in the world with actual jobs, have done the interviewing and all that. So they can, so there's just this big group of people that have tons of experience that you can sort of stand on. So a huge value add, right, of free code camp is that. All right. Here's what we're gonna do, right? We're gonna need to capture what do we need to capture? I guess the first, let's just do first num and then second num. And so first num starts at 0, second num starts at 1. Don't need a semicolon, Stephen. Then we're gonna return a func. Return a func that returns an int. And to begin with, let's just add these together. So we'll just say return first num plus second num, like that. See if that runs. Okay, so now we have numbers, but we just have ones, right? Oh, that's not helpful. Okay, Kina says, what do you look for in a man? Well, I'm not gay. There's nothing wrong with being homosexual. So if you are gay, no worries. But I'm not. I'm a male and I prefer females, and I'm a happily married 32-year-old dad of 2. So I found my mate long ago. So I'm not actively looking for a partner, whether they be male or female. I will tell you the most important thing I think I looked for in my wife was I wanted her to be kind and generous and funny and smart, and she's all those things, and she's beautiful. So I kind of hit the nail on the head there, you know? And I did, and I was 15 when I met her, so I saved myself a lot of suffering. Singularity Abyss, that was so odd. It was odd, but I thought that's the kind of, so people have given me some shit about having subscriber only chat, but those are the kind of chat messages that I've been trying to keep out of chat by having subscriber only. So the fact that Kakina was willing to subscribe to post that message means he's quite the committed individual. I had to do a double take while making my coffee. Yeah. These are not topics that normally come up during a stream for us. Ashutosh, does your partner code as well? No, my wife is about as far from technical as that can be. You know, like she's what I consider like a normal human. You know, she's not weird like me. Like, she uses her phone primarily as her only compute device. She basically does all the digital things that she would ever need to do using her phone, but she does not engage in any kind of like technical computer stuff, you know? She works, so her job actually is, she was a stay-at-home mom for the first 7 years that my kids were alive. So when my youngest started kindergarten, she went back to work, and the principal at my kid's school approached her and was like, hey, would you be interested in coming to work at the school? Which worked out really well just from like a schedule perspective, because now she can take the kids to school, and then she can bring the kids home from school, and when the kids are out of school, she's off work and all that stuff. So it worked out really well. But no, she does not code, and I don't think she's interested in learning how to code. If she ever was, I'd be happy to teach her, but it's just not her thing. And you know what? I think that's a reason why I've shared this perspective before in other places, but I think that's probably one of the reasons why I don't believe that AI is going to take all of software engineers' jobs, is because even if AI does become that capable, there's still just a vast majority of the human population that doesn't give a shit about building software. They don't want to vibe code. They don't want to use no code tools. They don't want to use low code tools. They don't want to vibe code. They don't want to build software. They're not interested in it. They just want to use software, right? That other people have built. So there's this huge, um, like solution looking for a problem that just doesn't exist, right? Like vibe coding is going to democratize it for everyone, and the truth is, ask me, thank you for subbing. The truth is, there's a huge majority of people who just don't give a shit about any of this stuff. Like they just want to use software on their phone. They want to live their life. They want to raise their kids. They want to watch football, make dinner, right? They just want. They don't give a crap about making personal software for themselves. For themselves. Look above. I took a bunch of time. Sorry for being annoying. What? Oh, were you talking about where you spelled out Muhammad's name with Arabic? Yeah, I haven't figured out how to use Arabic on my keyboard, but hey man, kudos to you. I love Lamp. Gotti Python, what's up? Hi, how are you doing? We're doing good, Gotti Python. We're trying to become a Go developer. In preparation for Advent of Code, we're trying to learn Go, and so far it's going decently well. Right now, we're trying to build a solution to creating a Fibonacci sequence using closures. Is what we're trying to do right now. So let's make a new variable here that's next num, right? So next num is going to be equal to the first num plus the second num, and then we just basically need to swap some pointers around, right? So we're going to, down here, we're going to return, not pointers, that's not the right word. We just need to swap some temporary variables around. So we need to say next num, or not temp variables. We just need to swap variables. I don't know why I'm trying to overcomplicate that. Return next up, and then up here, what we'll do is we'll swap them. So we'll say, I think second num. How do we want to do this? We want to say first num is going to be equal to the current value of second num, and then first num becomes equal to the second the second number, and then second num becomes equal to the next num. I think is what we want to do. So true. We only think everyone cares because we're so deep in it. But when I leave my house, I realize that no one knows or cares to build software. You're right. I mean, it's right, Singularity. It's so easy to get lost in your little world, right? You forget that there's 9 billion people on this planet, and the vast majority of them have interests that lie in as varied of things as there are colors in the universe, right? They're just... And that's why I think it's so important to get outside of the tech sphere, the text, Twitter hyper, AI craziness that is happening right now, and just remember that like the vast majority of people are trying to raise their kids, build a family, build a career, save for retirement, figure out what to make for dinner tonight, right? They're not thinking, ooh, cool, I can build my own version of Slack now. No one's doing that, All right, so did we get this right? 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13. I think that's right. Do we get it? 0, 1, 1. I guess we're missing 0. Are we supposed to print 0? I mean, I guess I can kind of hack this, but that's not probably how they intended it to be, because I'm missing 0 and 1 being printed. So should I start this at 0? Because I think if I do 0, then I'll definitely get the first 0 out. But then everything's 0. So it's almost like, I don't know, this seems super hacky. I'm sure there's a more elegant way to do this, but I could do something like if first num equals 0, or I guess if second num, no. Yeah, I'm not sure. What's the right way to go about this? 0, 1. I mean, I could just print 0 and 1 here, but I probably should return those to the caller. I used AI to help build a bot for a game, so I bot now. Fair enough, okay. You're bot now. It sounds like it was a fun project, though. I find it quite mind-boggling that a few hundred years ago we didn't even have a thing like computer or coding, and today almost most things we use has some kind of code running inside it. Yes, the world has changed dramatically in such a short amount of time. I talked about that on a stream last week, how even just considering like when I graduated high school, which was 2011, to my first job in tech, which was 2020, so that's not 9 years. Like, if you just look at the landscape of tech from 2011 to 2020, crazy, crazy. Like, I don't even think Bootstrap release date. I think Bootstrap was Bootstrap has only existed since I was in high school. You know what I mean? Think about that, right? How important Bootstrap was to kind of like the Web 2, the early days of Web 2. It's only been around for 14 years at this point, but now this is old and outdated and doesn't exist. So it's super. Learn, thanks for subscribing. Learn coding. I like your username. Very smart username. Clever username. All right, I'm kind of stumped right now on this Fibonacci thing. So basically, the problem is that I'm not printing these two numbers because on the first call to Fibonacci, these are already set. So how do I? I basically need some way to know that maybe I'm on the. Let's see. Brain dead. Then it's the total number plus the last number is the new number. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, sir. Okay, so you're saying if I have total num, right? So if I start total num at 0 and I return total num, and then if I do, instead of this, we say last num, and we start that at 0. And then what you're saying is we do. Yeah, but how do you start incrementing it? Why is this so hard for me? Why have I made this so hard for myself? I guess what I could do is... I play roulette. That's how I know the sequence. I've never played roulette. I haven't really gambled much in my life, honestly. I always, it sounds fun. Like the idea of gambling and winning a lot of money sounds like a good time. But then I always remember that there's the fact that I could lose the money. And then that completely ruins the fantasy for me. All right. So let's do this. I think what I need to do is, instead of doing this first, I think what I need to do is I think I need to have a current that is assigned from the first number. And then do the swap here. So we'll always return the current. And then we'll do... so first number would become what? First number would become second num. And then second num would actually become first num plus second num? No. Current plus second num? Like that? Right, so we take 0, we put that to current, then we return current. So we'll get 0 out. Then to set up the next cycle, we change first num to be second num, which will make first num 1. Then we add the second num, which is still 1, to the current num, which is 0. I think this will work. There we go. Now we got it. Success! Singularity bytes first num, second num equals... Oh, yep, you did it way more succinctly than me, singularity bytes. So you basically just did it all in a single line. You did this whole statement in a single line. Yep, way more succinct. Although I just don't like multiple variable declarations on the same line, or assignments on the same line. JavaScript has that same functionality, and I just feel like it's hard to read. All right, Fibonacci done. Woo! Okay, now we can start talking about methods. And we need to change the music. Great work. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Sometimes the simplest problems twist you up, you know? Alright. So this is kind of an interesting place for me, personally, as someone who knows how to program, but knows how to program in TypeScript and Go, or TypeScript in C#. This is where I think we're kind of entering the interesting bits of Go as a language, because now we're talking about how they handle things like methods and interfaces, but they kind of do it more in a functional way, right? Because they don't have this idea of a class. So I'm interested to see how this all works in Go. I'm gonna say your username has something to do with talented, or something like that. I only got 1 year left for my master's in software engineering. That's awesome, dude. Do you have plans after your master's? You got any big goals or companies you want to go work for? What's the next step? Also, congrats on being a year almost to done, dude. That's awesome. Takes a lot of discipline and a lot of persistence to stick with higher education for that long. So congratulations, man. You should be proud of yourself. Gonna have to turn noties on and follow along. Yeah, man, turn them on. We're gonna do, so the plan is, if you're newer here, the plan is to try to learn Go through the month of November, and then when December 1st hits, we're gonna do Advent of Code, which is basically like 24 days of a problem every day type of thing. But it's like Christmas themed, holiday themed, so it'll be fun. Brain dead. I'm just starting C, so watching your shorts gets me motivated. Oh, I'm glad, man. I'm glad I could be a little bit of motivation. I hope you're having a good time learning C, though. You know, I hope you're enjoying that process. Yes, sir. I'm already working for TTM Technology, Space and Defense. Dude, nice. Good for you, dude. Getting a master's and already working? You're killing it. Killing it. I'm guessing the pay scale's pretty good in the space and defense industry too, especially if you have a master's, so that's awesome. I love LAMP. I remember someone on your Discord said, "How is learning Go going?" Yeah, that was Pablo. Pablo said that. Yeah, learning Go is going well. The only issue so far that I've seen with Go, like the only thing I actually took real issue with, but it's not really like an issue in terms of like the language, more of an issue like a stylistic thing, is Go has this idea of naked returns, which I think is kind of weird. So you can define like a function. So you can define a function, a func that has, let's say it has a, and it is of type int, and then you can have an implicit return, basically. So you can say something like, you can just use the return keyword, don't pass any value. Then up top here, you can have a named return value. So you can say x is of type int, and then you can use x here. So like I could assign a value to x, I could assign a to x, and this just implicitly returns x. I don't know why anyone would ever want to write code in this manner. This seems so unbelievably confusing. That was the only thing yesterday that I took away, thinking, I guess it's cool that the language lets you do that, but I don't think I would ever actually want to do that. Nice coffee mug. Oh, you like that? Yeah, my family is we are Christmas lovers. We actually just put up our Christmas tree yesterday. Like the day after Halloween, Christmas decorations go up at our house. Why I mentioned that was because he said go-go. Yeah, he's a funny guy, clever guy. On lunch, I have tenders, and the dinners I had homemade burgers. My grandma's actually nice, not gonna lie. I mean, this sounds childish, but trust me, I'm 13. You know what? I believe you were 13 based on your use of not gonna lie. But yeah, I'm glad you got some tenders, man. Nothing wrong with some chicky tenders. All right, what is Go trying to tell us now? Go does not have classes, however, you can define methods on types. A method is a function with a special receiver argument. The receiver appears in its own argument list between the func keyword and the method name. In this example, the ABS method has a receiver type of vertex named v. So you declare your type with your fields and their type. Nice. Or I guess this is your struct, right? You're declaring a type of struct with these fields. And then down here, you're declaring a function that receives a vertex and then returns a float. So this is basically how you say this ABS belongs to this data structure, right? That's basically what you're saying. This function can be used as a method on this data structure, this type, because I've said that here, I've declared that here. With a special receiver argument. That's what they're calling this, a receiver argument. Interesting. So that's how you add methods. Huh. It almost kind of reminds me of like extension methods in C#. Right? Like in C# you can do, you know, static class extensions. And then if you wanted to return, you know, if you wanted to add some method that was like, I want to add a method to all strings to turn them to, I don't know, some random, you know, I want to mask them. Let's say that. I want a method on all strings that I can call that masks the underlying string, right? Then you'd say public static returns a string, and then you'd say something like to mask, and you'd say this. Would you say? I forget the syntax now that I'm not in C#. C# extension method. Yeah, right here. This string stir. That's what you do. This string stir, and then you could basically access that instance here. So you could say stir, you know, dot replace, and then you can mask it out. And now this method is available on all instances of string, which is kind of similar. It's kind of a similar idea that you're doing with the receiver type here, where you're basically saying, hey, because the ABS has a receiver argument of vertex, you can now access this ABS method on any instance of a vertex. I like it. I like it. I like it. Remember, a method is just a function with a receiver argument. Here's ABS written as a regular function with no change in functionality. So here you're basically just swapping this. So instead of it being a receiver argument, now it's an actual function parameter or function argument. So if you were to take this and put this back on the other side, like that, and then remove it from here, this would break because you wouldn't be able to do this anymore, I don't think. But you could do v.abs and you'd get the same behavior. Huh, so that's more of a stylistic thing, right? Do you want to declare functions that pass data to it, or do you want to actually declare methods for that piece of data, or these instances of a particular type? So I wonder, can you declare receivers of the base types, right? So can you do something like what I showed with that extension method, right? So can I say func like this, and then say message or print message? And then say format.println s. Does that work? So then I should be able to come down here and I should be able to say s is equal to hello s dot print message. Cannot define new methods on non-local type string. Type string has no field or method, so you can't do that. Is that correct? Go add methods to base types. You can't add existing types in another package. So you can't really, it's not really like an extension method because you can't modify base types, but you can modify your own types. Just probably, there's probably safety in that, right? You declare a method on non-struct types too, or you can declare a method on non-struct types too. In this example, we see a numeric type, myFloat, with an ABS method. You can only they literally answered my question on the next page. You can only declare a method with a receiver whose type is defined in the same package as the method. You cannot declare a method with a receiver whose type is defined in another package. So basically, you create a type that shadows the primitive type, right? So you're saying my float is just equivalent to the float64 type, and now you have access to declare methods that have receivers of that type. I guess that's just a way to protect you from polluting other people's stuff, or avoid your package polluting other people's code, I guess, is probably the reason why they did that or put that limitation in there. Same reason why in JavaScript you're not supposed to modify the prototype of base types. Ashutosh, how old are your kids? So I have a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old, a second and a fourth grader. I'm halfway. I guess technically with my oldest son, I'm like halfway to him being done. Russell Forbes, thanks for subscribing. I appreciate you. I guess technically I'm like halfway done with the journey with my first kid, because here in the United States, most of the time kids, like, they're kind of considered adults when they turn 18, and so usually most people when they're 18 they go off to college or they get their first job and they move out and do their own thing. It goes by quick, man. 9 years has gone by like that. Ashutoshi, if you get the chance to change something about yourself, what would it be? Well, I I I like myself for the most part, you know. Like, there's not a ton that I would. Sometimes I can have a pretty shitty temper, you know. Like my temper was way worse when I was younger, you know, like in my 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 even. I had a really just shitty temper, bad temper, you know, quick, not hot-headed, but just whenever I did get angry, I'd get real angry, you know? And sometimes that comes out still even today, especially like as a dad. Sometimes my kids really do, they just frustrate me, you know? That's just the nature of parenting. And sometimes I lose my temper and I always regret it, you know. I always regret being a grumpy dad. So I think if there's one thing I could like change about my personality, it would probably be that like I wish I didn't have a temper to begin with. Um, but we all have things like that, you know. Those are the crosses we bear, so to speak, so that we can give us something to improve on and work on ourselves, make us better people. But for the most part, I work to be a good, decent human being, and that's enough for me, you know. You can declare methods with pointer receivers. Ah, nice. This means the receiver type has the literal syntax $t for some type. Also, t cannot itself be a pointer, such as what? Also, t cannot itself be a pointer. For example, the scale method here is defined on a pointer of vertex, a pointer to vertex. Methods with pointer receivers can modify the value to which the receiver points. Since methods often need to modify their receiver, pointer receivers are more common than value receivers. Try removing the star from the declaration of the scale function on line 16 and observe how the program's behavior changes. Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, so when you use a pointer receiver, you're turning the code much more into like classic object-oriented code where you're encapsulating. Huh. I wonder. So that begs the next question. If you can declare a receiver of a pointer type, can you make fields on structs private or protected so that you can only modify X and Y through these methods? Is that something you can do in Go? I guess we'll find out, but that's my next thought. All right, one sec. I gotta blow my nose real quick. Good to hear that. I can say I'm a big procrastinator. Yeah, I mean, I sometimes struggle a little bit with procrastination, but I think it comes more from like a perfectionist type of bent where I don't want to do something unless I know I can do it perfectly sometimes, or I can do it just. I want to be able to get it just so, right? That's where a lot of procrastination for me comes from. But for the most part, I think I've gotten over that now that I'm in my 30s. I feel like I've worked on that quite a bit. One sec, I'll be right back. I'm back. Here we see the ABS and scale methods rewritten as functions. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's something to remember with Go is like if I want to mutate something, right, I need to pass it as a pointer to that thing versus a value. Which is probably something people like about Go though, because by default, right, you probably usually do something like this, which means you're sort of always trying to, you're almost by default avoiding mutable things a lot of the times, right? Methods and pointer indirection. Comparing the previous two programs, you might notice that functions with a pointer argument must take a pointer, while methods with pointer receivers take either a value or a pointer as the receiver when they are called. For the statement v.scale5, even though v is a value and not a pointer, the method with the pointer receiver is called automatically. That is as a convenience. Go interprets the statement v.scale5 as oh, interesting. Since the scale method has a pointer receiver. Interesting. I think that's a nice convenience, right? You don't want to have to remember always to what is this is dereferencing, right? And no, this and gets you a pointer, right? So basically, you don't always want to have to remember, oh, I have scale that has a receiver type of pointer. I need to make sure that I get the pointer for this value before I can call scale on it. So I think that's nice. I mean, I think a lot of this stuff is just stylistic opinion based, right? Do you want to have to explicitly do this, or do you like the fact that it just is implicit by default? Methods and pointer indirection. The equivalent thing happens in the reverse direction. Functions that take a value argument must take a value of that specific type, while methods with value receivers take either a value or a pointer as the receiver when they are called. In this case, the method called p.abs is interpreted as dereferencing p.abs. Nice. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Choosing a value or pointer receiver. There are two reasons to use a pointer receiver. The first is so that the method can modify the value that its receiver points to. The second is to avoid copying the value on each method call. This can be more efficient if the receiver is a large struct, for example. In this example, both scale and ABS are methods with receiver type pointer vertex, even though pointer of type vertex, even though the ABS method needn't modify its receiver. In general, all methods on a given type should have either value or pointer receivers, but not a mixture of both. Interesting. So I wonder if this is something you can enforce with a linter, because I could see people screwing this up really quickly. You know? Oh, well, I want to have a method that deals with the value, not a pointer, right? I'll bet there's like a linting rule or something that can fix that. Ask Tosh, are you good with RJX? I'm not. I've never used it before. I've heard good things about it, though. It's pretty popular in the Angular world, right? If I'm thinking of the right thing. Yeah, observables. Yeah, this is pretty popular in Angular. There's actually there's a gentleman who I met who works, I think, on the RxJS core team. I met him at one of the JavaScript meetups here in Kansas City. Core team. See if I can find him. Or maybe not. So who was that guy? And how was he related to, am I thinking of a different library? I thought it was this. Maybe I'm misremembering. I could have sworn he said he was on the RxJS core team. What was his name? This is why I should take more notes when I go to things. But I've never used it. I've heard good things about it. And I've also heard good things about just the whole idea of observables. But I've never used them. Okay, so Go has interfaces. I know how people feel about interfaces. People either like interfaces or they hate them. Right now in C#, there's a huge group of people in C# right now that are just railing against a lot of the standard clean code practices. And one of the things they like to do is they like to shit on interfaces. An interface type is defined as a set of method signatures. A value of interface type can hold any value that implements those methods. Okay, so we have absor, which is something that can call... An absor is something that has an absolute method, or a method named ABS, that returns a float 64. So, does vertex fit that? V is a vertex, not a pointer to a vertex, and does not implement absor. Interesting. Ah. Yes. This makes sense. Because ABS is defined... ABS basically belongs to a pointer vertex. It doesn't belong to the apart from having the ability to properly type stuff in TypeScript, what are some cool things you like about TS? That's an interesting question because that's it, right? That's the whole thing about TypeScript. I mean, if you strip away the ability to provide static types, you're just back to JavaScript. A lot of the things that TypeScript kind of adds, as far as language functionality, I don't really use. Like, I don't use namespaces. I don't really use enums. Well, I guess I do use. So TypeScript has this idea. TypeScript does provide this idea of like private versus protected fields within classes, which JavaScript kind of supports now using the private field hashtag symbol, right? So you can do private fields now in JavaScript. So you can kind of do that without having TypeScript. So I guess I do use some of the access declarations that TypeScript brings in. What else? I don't know. I can't really think of anything off the top of my head. No one's ever asked me that question before. But yeah, if you got rid of, I think honestly the best part of writing TypeScript is just the dev experience. You know, like you can still write TypeScript that compiles and at runtime blows up. You know, so it's not, TypeScript doesn't add a ton of runtime safety, right? It definitely adds compile time safety, but you can definitely get around that. You know, just throw the keyword anywhere and you'll be off to the races. But I think for me it's just the dev experience, right? You couldn't have all the cool things you can do with Visual Studio Code when you're writing TypeScript. Would be difficult to do without the static typing. All the different code actions and refactors and IntelliSense, all that kind of stuff is largely driven by the fact that you have types. NG Tontai, TypeScript, JavaScript, fast prototype. You mean fast to be able to prototype things? Is that what you're saying? Or are you saying something different? Because I will agree, yeah, TypeScript and JavaScript are great languages to prototype things in. But I feel like that's kind of, it's subjective, right? So I can prototype things pretty fast with the Blazor server app in C#. Fast development, the whole front end, React, Vue, Angular. Yeah, I mean, but I can prototype stuff pretty fast with the Blazor server app in C#, and that's nice because basically I only have to worry about writing code on the server side, but I can still have rich interactivity on the front end because of the WebSocket connection. So I don't know, fast prototyping is largely, I think, it's more of a person thing, right? Like how good are you with a particular language kind of dictates how quickly you can stand something up. Interfaces are implemented implicitly. A type implements an interface by implementing its methods. There is no explicit declaration of intent, no implements keyword. Implicit interfaces decouple the definition of an interface from its implementation, which could then appear in any package without prearrangement. Okay, so we define a type of I, which is of interface, that has an im method. This method means that type im implements the interface I. What? Hold on. So type I needs to have a method im. Type T is a struct. Why did they use T and I? T and I are too close. They almost visually are not distinct enough. They kind of trick your brain. So we have type I, which is an interface, and it says it should have an im method. Type T is a struct, and it has a field name S, which is of string type. And then down here, we're declaring a method im that has a receiver type of T, which is of type T value, and it just prints that string. And then in our main function, we can declare a variable of I, which has a type of I, or a variable I, which has a type of I. This sounds like craziness when I speak this, does it not? It sounds like I'm talking in gibberish. Var I, which is of type I, is initialized to an instance of the struct T with its string field set to hello, or its S field set to hello. And this works because we have this im method that we declared here. We didn't have to say anything about T implementing I. That's what they're trying to get at us here. They're trying to say, when you declare a type, you don't have to explicitly say T implements this, or T extends this. You don't have to do anything like that. You just say, well, because T has this, because T's implementation matches the interface signature, you can assign it, which is nice. I think that's nice. That's kind of similar to TypeScript in a lot of ways, where you can have an anonymous object that you haven't explicitly typed, but because it implements members that satisfy the type that a function accepts or returns, right? You can use it. That comes in handy a lot with testing, right? You can just like inline provide something that satisfies the type required or the interface required. Under the hood, interface values can be thought of as a tuple of a value and a concrete type. An interface value holds a value of a specific underlying concrete type. Calling a method on an interface value executes the method of the same name on its underlying type. Okay, what are they trying to communicate with the code here? So we have an interface. We still have that same I interface. Are you a React or Go guy? I'm not a Go guy. I'm just learning Go. How can I be a Go guy if I'm just learning Go? You know what I mean? I do like React though. I haven't written much React in 6 months, 8 months now at this point. I've been writing a way more Vue for front-end code. I like Vue single file components. I like Vue 3, the composition API, and single file components. You seem like a Microsoft guy. Yeah, I mean, I don't have any issues with Microsoft. I love the developer division at Microsoft. I love the people that work in the developer division at Microsoft. All of them are really smart, seem like really nice people. Guys like Scott Hanselman, Damian Edwards, David Fowler, Mads Torgerson. Yeah, there's just a lot of people that work in sort of the developer tooling division at Microsoft that are just incredibly smart people. The people who work on Visual Studio Code. I didn't intend to write languages that are primarily Microsoft constructs. It just kind of happened that way. Like I just stumbled into C#. I learned TypeScript after I learned C#. So I had already learned C#, JavaScript, CSS, HTML, and then I found TypeScript. I mean, the funny thing about this is like so many of the things you use every day are Microsoft. If you use Visual Studio, you're using Microsoft. If you're using NeoVim and you have a debug adapter or a language server set up in NeoVim, those technologies came from Microsoft. LSP, Microsoft. Debug adapter protocol, Microsoft. GitHub, Microsoft. I mean, it's owned by Microsoft now. It's like so many of the things we use every day are an outgrowth. Either they were originally an outgrowth of Microsoft, or they have since become a part of Microsoft. What other things? I mean, I'm sure you guys can think of other things. Visual, I said Visual Studio Code already. I'm trying to think of other things. Yeah, it's a lot more. It's a lot more than what you realize until you start pulling back the hood on a lot of this stuff, and you realize that given Microsoft's size and market cap and their ability to go and get people to work for them to do cool things, they obviously just have an outsized impact on the industry. Hello, JD. I'm just going to call you JD because I don't know how else to say your username. VB.net for Excel script. I've never written any VB.net. I've never done any of that stuff. Except for Windows 11, it's awful in my opinion, and their forced Microsoft account stuff. Yeah, I mean, I won't say that there aren't issues with Microsoft. I'll just say that I like the developer tools they make, and I like the people that create their developer tooling and work in their developer division. And I don't really have much beef with Windows 11. Obviously, I use it every day. But I know there are people. I know people that do, and that's totally fine. It's totally okay to think Microsoft's the evil empire. I just don't have that same lived experience myself. When I was a child, I used to program in Visual Basic. Nice. Yeah, I think a lot of people started in VB. You know, a lot of people. You guys mind if I run and go get a cup of coffee real quick? It's 5:38. I'm gonna go refill my coffee cup. A noob. Someone suggest a chair. Like you need a new chair? Is that what you're saying? Because I want a new chair. So yes, please suggest a chair. Yes, a chair. Okay, so this is what I've been recommended. So the developers I work with, because I've been complaining for 5 years now that I need to buy a chair. These are the chairs they always recommend to me. I'll share these with you. Maybe chat has some other recommendations. These are expensive though. That's the reason why I haven't bought them. So I've got a friend that's recommended the Embody, which is an Urban Miller, but they're very expensive. You know, you're talking like $1,000 chair. So I have two friends that work on the developer team where I work. They both have recommended this. And then there was somebody that recommended me not a Secret Labs. It was a Fern chair. Have you guys seen these? I kind of like. This is actually the chair I think I want. It's called a Haworth. Haworth, is that how you say that? Haworth Fern. These are but they're expensive, man. You're talking about $1,000 for a fucking chair. It's crazy. I have to start a super chat fund to buy those chairs. I love LAMP. I started in TypeScript and Python. Nice. I've only written batch scripts in order to execute other scripts in other languages. Hate, but it's work for business. Yeah, man. If you got it, hey, man. If you make money from it, go for it. A noob, no expensive stuff. Ah, well, everything I just showed is completely out the window. JD, any IKEA chair with armrest and a forward-leaning or adjustable backrest? WakeFit Gravita Pro chair. I've never heard of that one. At some point, though, you'll see me in a new chair at some point. Whether that's in another 5 years, maybe? I don't know. I just can't bring myself to spend that much money on something I just stick my butt in every day. Let's see. Be right back. Disable reload. Right back. When to refill coffee cup. Yeah, I mean, anything over $100 for a chair seems costly to me. But the way the friends talk to me about this is the way they look at it is, as a developer, as an engineer, you spend 40 hours a week in a chair. You spend 40 hours a week using a keyboard. You spend 40 hours a week using a computer, and all those things contribute to you earning an income. And so their thing is, hey, if you're going to spend $1,000 but you're more productive, or you're more comfortable, or you have a better ability to perform at your work, that's an investment in your career, an investment in your profession, which I totally agree. It's just there's a piece of my brain that's just kind of wired kind of frugally in a lot of ways, and it's difficult at times for me to overcome that. All right, I'll be right back. Don't let me forget that I muted myself. Okay, I'll be right back. I'm back. You guys know it's actually so here in the United States we do something called daylight savings time, which I don't know if you guys do that, but it's actually technically it's 6:48 a.m., but because of daylight savings time for me it's really 5:48 a.m. I don't know whose idea it was to screw with the clock that way. It's really stupid. What did I miss here? What did I miss? XY said, taking a piss again. No, no, making coffee again. Saba, I like your font. What is it called? My font is, it's a nerd font. It's a nerd font. Oh, we should add that as a command to Stream Elements, huh? So I use Cascadia Cove Nerd Font is the one I use. How do I link this? I guess I could just copy the link. But I probably don't want to send people to, I don't know, maybe I'll copy the preview link, maybe? Copy link. And I'll stick that into Stream Elements as a command. Am I not logged in? Yeah, I've used this font for a long time now. Actually, it was Scott Hanselman who I stole the font from. Let's see, we're going to the chat bot. We're going to add a new command. It's going to be a custom command. We will say, we'll call it, what do we call it? We'll call it font. This, I use Cascadia Cove Nerd Font. And we will activate it. And now let's see if it works. Exclamation point font. Are you into a standing desk? Well, let me answer that question for you, Josh, really quick. Watch this. Although my camera isn't set up to also adjust with the desk, so it's kind of a little bit of a chore if I want to stream while standing. But yes, I do have a standing desk and I use it every day. I love it. What I usually do is any type of work that's like admin-y work, like email, Slack, writing test plans, like for manual testing related things, reviewing specs, any kind of work like that I do for my job, I typically will stand up and do it. And then any work that's like more coding related or requires like deeper, I don't know what you want to call it, just more concentration, then I usually do that seated. I have heard daylight savings has something to do with saving power or electricity during the winter season. Yeah, I think originally it had to do with farming, if I remember right. Daylight savings origin. I thought it was about giving farmers oh, never mind. I guess you're right. It says this, according to Wiki, originated in Germany in 1960 during World War I to conserve fuel by making better use of natural light. I thought it was a farming thing. In contrast, in agrarian societies, daily routines for work and personal conduct are more likely governed by the length of daylight hours. So I guess it's sort of related to what I thought. I think it's dumb though now. I worked in the ER as a medical scribe through college, and I've worked many daylight saving shifts where you literally see the clock hit 2 o'clock and then it reverts, and you basically you work the same hour a second time. It's so shitty. RS832, what up, buddy? Hey, what's up? Just saying hi, but I got a jet. Have a good morning. Thanks for stopping in, man, and saying hi. I always appreciate when people do that. It's very kind. Thank you. Also, I have a spelling mistake in the new command I added. It should not be Cascadia Cover. It should just be Cascadia Cove. Bad things are happening in South Africa. I'm sorry to hear that, man. I'm not super tuned in to that part of the world, but tragedy's tragedy. What's up, Artwork Studios? How are you? Back from dinner. Nice. What'd you have for dinner? All right, I love Lamp. Have a good ride, man. I hope you drive safe. Have fun with your dad. Thanks for hanging out on stream. Oh. Rice and chicken and fries. Ooh, much chicken. Nice. Chicken and rice. Chicken and fries. You can't go wrong with that combination. XXYYXX. Nah, I was just gauging what you know. Oh, yeah. I'm trying to learn Go. I'm not super connected with the politics or the current world events. It's a beautiful place. Come over. Nice, yeah. There's lots of places in the world I'd like to visit. I've never been. Interface values with nil underlying values. If the concrete value inside the interface itself is nil, the method will be called with a nil receiver. In some languages, this would trigger a null pointer exception, but in Go, it is common to write methods that gracefully handle being called with a nil receiver, as with the method im in this example. Note that an interface value that holds a nil concrete value is itself non-nil. Hold on, let me reread that. An interface value that holds a nil concrete value is itself non-nil. I like how they say, in some languages, this would trigger a null pointer exception, but in Go, it is common to write methods that gracefully handle being called with a nil receiver. You mean other languages shouldn't do this too? Other languages should probably handle null better than they do. A nil interface value holds neither value nor concrete type. Calling a method on a nil interface is a runtime error because there is no type inside the interface tuple to indicate which concrete method to call. Ah, I see. Invalid memory address or null pointer dereference. That's scary. Segmentation violation code. Can you make error messages look more scary than that one? Is that the documentation? Yeah, this is a tour of Go. I think it's the tutorial on the actual doc site on go.dev. So far, it's been good. Yeah, so far, I'm going to go through this. This is kind of my learning plan at the moment. My learning plan is I'm going to do the tour of Go. Then I'm going to check out this other website called Learn Go with Tess. And then we'll jump into doing some old advent of code problems. And then eventually, and then after that, after we get our feet under us with the old advent of code problems, we'll probably move on to building some actual projects. That's my plan at the moment. I would paste that into GPT because I'm lazy. My brain TikTok fried. Remember to like the stream for bug-free code. Yeah, I did. I don't do a good Sogo. I don't do a good enough job advertising that. But yeah, if you like my stream, your the code you write, it'll be bug-free. So and it's completely free to do that. Like you don't even have to pay money or anything. You just like the stream, and all of a sudden all the bugs go away. Good to see you, Sogo. Sogo and I Love Lamp are some of our illustrious YouTube members here on the channel. We only have 103 members. There's only 103 people on planet Earth that are members of this YouTube channel. It's pretty awesome. And subscribe to, just in case Val decides to be charitable again. Yeah, we have this member named Val who has spent over $100, I think now, or right at $100 in gifted memberships. It's wild. It's absolutely wild. The interface type that specifies 0 methods is known as the empty interface. An empty interface may hold values of any type. Empty interfaces are used by code that handles values of unknown type. For example, format.print takes takes any number of arguments of type interface this. Okay, so if you have an empty interface, how can you find out information about it? You can use type assertions. So somebody did a really good job with these docs, because every time they present a piece of information to me, it's like they almost knew exactly what my questions were going to be, and the very next topic answers those questions. That's when you know you've written good documentation. I Love Lamp. I don't do clickbait on my videos like and subscribe for free money. I don't do that at all. It's just too much, not gonna lie. Do you realize you use not gonna lie almost like a period on your sentences, Lamp? And yeah, I will agree. That's there's kind of a little bit of cringiness to offering money to people for likes and subscribes. But in my case, I'm just offering them bug-free code. So Val once literally just joined stream, gave memberships, and said, "See ya." Yeah, he's single-handedly bankrolling my YouTube career, if you can call it a career. Just like how I use LOL as a period. LOL. I Love Lamp. That's kind of clickbait, but genius. You are a programmer technically, so not gonna lie, it's not very clickbait. I'm fine with people that do clickbait stuff. I mean, I'm not trying to make a living from YouTube, right? Like I have a day job. I work 40 hours a week at an actual job. So like I don't necessarily I can do because of that, because I don't need to make money from making YouTube content. It means I can not do things that other people who are trying to make a living from YouTube sort of have to do. So I don't really knock people who are doing clickbaity things or make thumbnails that are clickbaity, because those are usually people who are like, they're trying to make a career out of being a YouTuber, right? Like they're trying to feed their family and put food on their table so they're sort of playing the game. They have to play the game, right? Like they need to get views and they need to get engagement. So I don't know. I don't really criticize people for doing that type of stuff. Is it how I would prefer to operate? No, but I would hate to say that I would never do that. If it was between making money from my YouTube videos so I could buy groceries for my family, or being able to say I don't do clickbait on my channel, I can tell you that decision is very, very easy if your single source of income is from your YouTube channel. So yeah, I don't try to judge too harshly on that stuff. Steven does YouTube for fun. Others, I need to pay my bills. But neither is wrong, I guess, Artwork Shoes. That's what I'm trying to say is neither is wrong. You can do YouTube as a professional career type of thing and make it into a real business with ads and sponsors and all. And that's not to say that I won't ever, that if somebody was to, like if Tailscale approached me and was like, hey, we'd like to sponsor your channel, I'd be like, sign me up, folks. But what I'm trying to say is like, it's just two different things. The way you operate when you're doing something sort of as a hobby and for fun is very different than the way you operate when you're doing something as an actual business. It's just different mindsets, different strategies, different approaches, different goals. All right, type assertions. It's good that we have these. A type assertion provides access to an interface value's underlying concrete type. This statement asserts the interface value I holds the concrete type t and assigns the underlying t value to the variable t. If I does not hold a t, the statement will trigger a panic. Well, I don't want to trigger a panic. To test whether an interface holds an instance type, a type assertion can return two values, the underlying value and a Boolean value that reports whether the assertion succeeded. If I holds a t, then t will be the underlying value and OK will be true. If not, OK will be false and t will be the zero value of type t and no panic occurs. Note the similarity between this syntax and that of reading from a map. Okay. So this is sort of like in C# where you can do pattern matching with the is keyword, right? So you can do something like if a is a string stir. And then if that is true inside this block, we can use string like a use stir like a string here. So Go is kind of doing the same thing. So but almost it does the casting for us implicitly or explicit. What would be the word? It basically it casts it to a value if it is actually okay, right? So here, I wonder what happens if I check that this is okay. Like if this is not okay, and then I try to use s like a string. I wonder what happens. Like, is this nil? Or I guess this would be an empty string. I guess this is probably whatever the zero value is for the underlying type. Well, yeah, what is this? What is this print? What is that print? Because this is saying I float 64, but I is really a string. So what happens in that case? Whoops. Can't leave that in there. The statement will trigger a panic. That's whenever my teacher says they want to assign homework. At my house, it's whenever in my house, whenever I say it's bedtime, that's what triggers the panic at my house. And it's funny because my kids go to bed at the same fucking time every day. And every night, we're like, hey, it's time for bed. And they're both like, aw, do we have to? It's like, yes, bro. It's bedtime. We don't need to do this every day. Yeah, so I think my assumption is right. If okay is false, then this value is just going to be whatever the zero value is. And that's what that's what they said right here. T will be the zero value of type T. A type switch is a construct that permits several type assertions in series. A type switch is like a regular switch statement, but the cases in a type switch specify types, not values. Those values are compared against the type of the value held by the given interface. I like this. I like this a lot. So you basically get pattern matching, which is great. The declaration in a type switch has the same syntax as a type assertion, I dot open close parens t, but the specific type t is replaced with the keyword type. Yeah, so you just got to remember, don't use string, right? Don't use string here. You use type, and then you specify what you want to match against here. Also, all this should be indented. Why is this not indented? That must be a style thing. Yeah. To me, that doesn't look good. Having your case statements line up with your switch keyword. Anybody know how to read the contents of a 25Q32H chip? No. That is such an oddly specific and random comment for 6 o'clock in the morning. But I do not know how to do that. One of the most ubiquitous interfaces is Stringer, defined by the format package. Type Stringer has an interface of string, a string method that returns a string. A stringer is a type that can describe itself as a string. The format package and many others look for this interface to print values. Huh. This is kind of like C#. In C# you have the toString method on like just any object in C# has a toString method, right? And you can override that to print different things. Okay. Okay, exercise. Make the IP address type implement format.stringer to print the address as a dotted quad. For instance, IP address 1234 should print 1.2.3.4. Alright, how do we do this? So I guess the question is, do we want it to be a method, so it needs a receiver argument, and we don't care about it being a pointer because we're not going to modify anything. So we're going to do a func with a receiver of IP. And then what are we going to call this? We're going to call this string. And this returns a string. Which means then it's just going to return so this is 4 byte, an array of bytes. So then we just do well, actually I don't know how to do that. How do you do interpolated strings in Go? Go, interpolated string? Is that a thing in Go? Format sprint F. Go does not natively support string interpolation in the same way other languages. Go utilizes the format package for formatted string operation. Did they mention that in the exercise description? No, they didn't. So am I just supposed to know that? Or have I not been paying attention? I feel like there should be a way I can join an array by some... I feel like every language should have that. Let's see. Go join array of ints into a string with specified separator. convert the array of integers to an array of string. String.join. Converts an int to its... Man, that seems like a lot of work. That seems like I'm doing a lot just to get... Come on, there's got to be an easier way to do this, right? Okay, so I definitely don't want this, I don't think. Sprintf takes a format string as its first argument containing placeholders. %s for strings, %d for integers. Okay, so I think this would work. I mean, I think I could do %d dot %d dot %d dot %d, and then I could pass in IP0, IP1. This seems dumb. But I don't know what I'm doing, okay? Let's see if this even runs. Alright, that worked, but it seems dumb. This seems like I should be able to accomplish this. Let's see what Gemini thinks. See if Gemini can help me learn something here. I'm going through a tour of Go. I needed to implement a function that converts an array of byte to a IP address string. Here's what I came up with. This seems dumb and not at all clever. Is there a more elegant way, if I could spell, elegant way to do this in Go? We're going to use the power of the almighty LLM. Oh. the LLM is a GigaChad programmer. It just says, hey, bring in a new package. Hey, use strings.join. Okay, this seems stupid to me. Why do I have to do all this looping? But that's, I guess, just what it does. I guess this is just how you have to accomplish these things in Go. Gemini said, it's not dumb. Fair enough. We'll leave it as is then. I don't know. It just seems not at all like the way to do it. But who cares? Using AI for learning Go is fire. Well, yeah, you know, it's all good. It's smart over here. It's smart. Oh, I missed some messages here. Hold on, let me scroll back just a little bit. I remember when I was learning to code, I hated nested loops. Yeah, nested loops always look super ugly. Nexus, I'm not a pro, but I know something. Never learned Go, though. Is there no string func? Yeah, I don't think in the same way as you would in other languages. At least nothing that... I'm just not familiar with Go, so don't take anything I do as a way that it should be done. What's NASM equals assembly? Artwork Studios, are you saying my stream's lagging or loading weird or something with your message there? I kind of rely on chat to tell me if my stream is having issues. Go program. Okay, so this is a big Go thing, right? Errors are first class citizens. This is a big Go doesn't use exceptions for control flow like C# and TypeScript do. Oh no, that's because you're on the errors page. Oh. Yeah. Okay. This is an important topic as I understand it to know how to work with Go. So Go programs express error state with error values. The error type is a built-in interface similar to format.stringer. The type error interface implements an error method that returns a string. The format package looks for the error interface when printing values. Functions often return an error value, and calling code should handle errors by testing whether the error equals nil. Yeah, I remember this from earlier learning Go. I think this was one of the things I got the most frustrated by, was having to always say if error does not equal nil, or if error equals nil. This is basically your results pattern, essentially, is what this is. A nil error denotes success. A non-nil error denotes failure. I can handle that. This, to me, though, I'm not sure how I feel about this syntax, right? So you're calling a method, right? And that method can return an error. But this error variable is being initialized and declared within the if statement, which means you can then use it in a subsequent piece of your if statement, which is really odd. I've never worked in a language where you could do this. Or at least if you can do this in C# or you can do this in TypeScript, I've never done it. I don't think you can do this. I'd much rather just do this. To me, this is more readable. Much rather just do that. I don't need to save 2 lines. Okay, exercise. Copy your square root function from the earlier exercise and modify it to return an error value. Square root should return a non-nil error value when given a negative number, as it doesn't support complex numbers. Create a new type and make it an error by giving it a func error string method such that error negative square root dot error returns cannot square root negative number, and then pass this in. Note, a call to format.sprint e inside the error method will send the program into an a call to format.sprint e inside the error method will send the program into an infinite loop. I wonder how many people have done that accidentally and then never actually tested that condition, and they just crashed their program in production. You can avoid this by converting e first. Format.sprint float 64e. Why? I don't know why. Change your square root function to return an error negative square root value when given a negative number. Okay, well, I don't remember how we implemented square root. Was this is how we did it, I guess. Let's go here. I guess we'll grab this code and we will copy it over to this guy. Excuse me. Or NetBreaker. What is the project? There is no project or NetBreaker. We're just learning Go at the moment. there will be projects, there will be some problem solving, but right now we're just going through some basic language learning because I've never worked with Go before. So we're doing we're first looking at tour of Go is the first thing we're going to look at, which we're doing right now, and then we're going to look at another project called Learn Go with Tests, because I think learning how to write tests for any language is super duper important. And then once we get through those things, we're going to practice some old Advent of Code problems, and then we'll probably move on to some actual projects. The main goal that we're trying to accomplish is we're trying to have fun this year when we do Advent of Code in December with Go. So we're trying to spend the month of November kind of practicing and improving and getting better. Artwork Studios. I don't even know how to learn square root. Yeah, before this exercise, I've never thought about how square root was calculated. Yeah, I just use a calculator. My school used calculators for sure. I used a calculator in every grade that I was in, basically. I mean, from middle school on. I mean, in elementary school, you don't use calculators a ton because you're doing like super basic arithmetic, but the moment you start doing like algebra, trigonometry, geometry, any stuff like that, right? You've got a calculator with you. Calculus, right, in college. That was the highest math class I took, was calculus in college. I think it was Math 150 was the name of that was the highest math I had to take for my degree. All right. So I guess here we can return this. And then what we'll do is we'll add a check up here at the very top, and we'll say if x is less than 0, because we can't handle negatives, then what we're going to do is we're going to return a nil value, or I guess we could return 0 for the float 64. But honestly, I don't think that should be correct. Like, why would you return 0 here? Because 0 would mean the square root of x is 0 to the caller. So I guess that means if you're practicing idiomatic Go, right, that means the caller should always check to see if the error is non-nil, right? So you would assume they're going to check the error. If the error is non-nil, then they know they can't trust the value. For me, it's quite recent, as before 13 we couldn't use calculators. Oh wow. Yeah, I think I remember using calculators like 6th, 7th, 8th grade. That's middle school here in the States and up. I feel like I used a calculator. Alright, so we gotta define a new type. And then we also need to define a function. Cool. And then we also need to have a message. What do they want the messages to say? Returns cannot square root negative number. That's what it wants us to say. Return format dot, what did they say? Format dot sprint inside error method will send the program into an infinite loop. What happens if I do format dot sprint f and I do this, and then I do %d, and then I pass an e? Is this going to cause an infinite loop? Also, how do I new up an error? Or can I just do that? Cannot use the x variable type float64 as error value in return statement. Float64 does not implement error. So what, do I need to do like air var air is air negative square root, and then assign that to assign x to it? Cannot use x variable of type float64 as air negative square value in variable declaration. What? Okay, I don't understand then. I've done something wrong. So, but I thought when you typed it like this, it meant that you could use air negative square root as float64. I thought that's what that meant. Am I not understanding correctly? For me, any language eventually looks like JavaScript. Yeah, I mean, it does. I mean, Go looks like JavaScript. It just looks like it has a far less parentheses, and it looks like the developer has chosen not to use semicolons. You know, that's what it looks like. So maybe I don't understand how to properly new up this air. Maybe that's the problem. That this should be something like this. Invalid composite literal type. Okay, so I don't understand. How do I go define error? There's a hole in my understanding somewhere. Invalid composite literal type. Okay, so let's say -1. What happens here? Cannot use error variable of type int. Does not implement error. Var error error. Okay, there we go. Cannot square root negative error. Float 64. I don't think I understand how to do format messages. Format sprint. Format.sprint. See Artwork Studios. Thanks for hanging out, man. Appreciate you. Go implements a formatted IO with functions analogous to C's printf and scanf function. Format.sprint function in Go formats using the default formats for its operands and returns the resulting string. So what, you're gonna say this, and then this. Unexpected name float 64 in argument list. Oops, I forgot a comma. Oh my goodness. Could I learn how to type? There we go. 0 cannot square root negative number. Where's the 0 coming from? Oh, that's coming from print line, I think. But why does this say 3? Because I put 3 here. Why did I put 3 here? I don't know. There we go. God, why was that so hard for me to do? Can I assign X there? I don't understand this. Why can't I do that? I'm gonna ask Gemini. Let's see. I have the following Go code. Oh, that's not wrong. When I run it, I get this error. But when I assign a negative 1.0 to X, I don't get the error. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Because to me, that doesn't make sense. Like, this is a float 64, right? So why can't that be assigned to a type that basically is of underlying type float 64? Copy that. I think this is a really important part when you're learning something, is when something doesn't line up with your understanding, you really want to try to challenge that, right? What have I misunderstood? Like, why does my expectation... Let's see. The error occurs because of Go's strict type system and how you're attempting to convert a float 64 to your custom error type. The type mismatch. X is a variable in the square root function. X is defined as a parameter of type float 64. Go does not allow a variable of one type to be assigned directly. To fix, assign X to error you must use an explicit type conversion. Okay. So could I just return X though? Right? What if I just return X here? This won't work. Oh, whoops. I can't return. So this is the type thing coming into play, right? So I can't return X here. Like if I deleted this line, I can't return X here because cannot use X as air value in return type because float does not implement air, right? That's why we had to create our own type to kind of shadow the float 64 type, was so that we could add a method to it, right? Because you can't do this for float 64. But the way you essentially create an error then is you have to explicitly cast this to X. So if I do that, this will work. Yep, okay, that's good to know. So just next time, Stephen, remember, explicitly cast your underlying type variable to that wrapper type, essentially. I can remember that. I can remember to do this. All right, we're learning about readers. This is exciting. We're making progress. Look at us. We still have a little ways to go, I think, though. I don't know if we're going to get through generics today, but we'll probably get to it. Hopefully. The I/O package specifies the IO.reader interface, which represents the read end of a stream of data. I will say, does anybody here write Go? And if you do write Go, does anybody take issue with the fact that none of the interface names, none of them infer that they are interfaces, right? Like, how would you know that reader is an interface? I don't know how you would know that. You'd have to go read the docs, I guess. Because like in C#, if you have an interface, they almost all start with I, right? I receiver, I message handler, I whatever. That's sort of a way to the reader to know that this thing is an interface and that you can supply an implementation to it. But there's no way, to me, there's no way to know that io.reader is an interface, except the docs are telling me right now. So that's, I think I kind of take issue with that. The TypeScript dev taking issue with the Go conventions. I primarily, if you're new here, I primarily write C# and TypeScript, so Go is a new language for me, and so I have lots of feelings about it. It is kind of fun though to be back learning another programming language, because now that I've been writing code for 5 years almost, now learning a new language, it's interesting because I feel like my opinions and my taste and my thoughts about the way code should look or feel or read is coming to the surface. Things that I didn't even really know that I had formed over the years are sort of bubbling up, which is kind of cool. The Go standard library contains many implementations of this interface, including files, network connections, compressors, ciphers, and others. The io.reader interface has a read method, which is a function. It has a receiver of type T. It reads, given a certain number of bytes, it returns an int, and it returns an error. So read populates this byte array with some number of ints, some number of bytes, which it then returns to the caller, and if there's an error, it then returns an error. It returns an io.eof error when the stream ends. The example code creates a strings.reader and consumes its output 8 bytes at a time. I haven't worked with raw bytes very much. I will say that in my programming life, I don't typically work with a lot of raw bytes myself. All right, strings.newReader. And then we create a new byte. This is a slice of bytes with a length of 8. And now we're reading, so we're saying r.read. We're passing in the bytes. If error equals io.eof, meaning end of file, we break. Oh, and this is in a loop. Sorry, that's what I missed. This is in a continuous loop. So this loop will run forever until we hit the end of the string or end of the file. So let's run it. So here's the first set of bytes we read. Second set of bytes we read. So there was 8 bytes in the first group, 6 in the second, and that brought us to the end of the file. Yeah, end of the file. Okay, that's a reader. Cool. The first time somebody asks me to implement a reader, I'm going to be like, wait, let me go look at the docs. Implement a reader. Wait. Implement a reader type that emits an infinite stream of the ASCII character A. It implements an infinite stream of the ASCII character A. Am I the only guy chatting? Yeah, I think you are the only guy chatting. You're either the only guy chatting or OBS is broken for me because I only see your messages. Excuse me. That was a big excuse me. I think that means I need more coffee. What do you guys think? All right, I'm not really sure how to start here. My messages are minutes apart, by the way. Yeah, no, I see them. Yeah, I see them. They're messages. I see your messages. Get strong coffee. Man, this is about as strong as it gets. This is espresso. It's an espresso roast coffee bean made with like an actual espresso machine. You know? So I don't know if you can get much stronger. Although I've only had 2 shots this morning, and normally I think I have like 4 shots by this time. All right, chat, what should we do here? How do we make a reader that emits an infinite stream of ASCII? Well, first we need to define the function. So this would take a R of type myReader, right? And then we would take in read, and we'll take in bytes. I guess we'll call this B, and we can type that as our bytes. And then this will return an int, or return an error. Right? And I guess let's just start by returning 0 and nil. Read 0 bytes after 1 million. It called that function 1,000,000 times. Wow. Cool. So what do we do then? I guess we'd return nil, but how do we return the bytes of ASCII? Right. So basically have whoops. We have a var, or no, let's say we have character equals A. And then, is there some way I can create from this, can I, how do I go from A to ASCII? go get ASCII character as bytes. See, ASCII byte slice. Okay, is that really as easy as it? Is that really all I have to do? Maybe I'm overthinking some of this stuff. So should it be, how should I do this? B dot make ASCII bytes equals make, not make. And then ASCII bytes dot length, or no, I have to call this, right? Length of ASCII bytes. Got byte 0 at offset 0, want A. Maybe get that real bitter one. It'll wake you up for you. Maybe ristretto. I think ristretto though is, I think a ristretto just has to do with water to coffee ratio. I think is what that the situation is there. It's like it's a ristretto shot versus a different. It's a short shot of espresso made with the same amount of coffee but half the water. So it doesn't have anything to do with the brew. It has to do with how much water you put through the shot based on how much coffee you have. Ristretto versus lungo, is that? Ristretto is a shorter, while lungo is a longer shot made with more water. What's the ratio? For those of you who are new here, I love coffee, so if somebody brings up coffee, I'm probably going to get derailed talking about it. Let's see, preparation. Instead of 40 grams of liquid for a double espresso, you run 80 grams through the portafilter into the cup for a double longo. Yeah, so I normally just do a standard espresso because I usually do about 35 grams of water of output for a double. So what's a ristretto then? Oh, a ristretto contains 14 grams. Okay, 14 grams of coffee. The coffee quantity is reached after about... Oh, so you only get out 10 to 14 grams of output. So it's like half. It's basically half. Oh, long shot is insane. Yeah, so basically what this article is saying, ristretto is like... So if you do 14 grams of coffee, or, 14 grams of coffee, then you would get about 14 grams of output versus a normal espresso shot would be like 14 grams of coffee would be like between 30 and 40 grams of output. And then what was the other word? A lungo is double. So it's like half. It's like a ratio of like 0.5, 1, or 2. That's basically what it is. Yeah, maybe I should try that, man. Maybe I should try switching up my espresso pulls to be the ristretto variant. Okay, how do I get these bytes, these ASCII bytes? How do I get these ASCII bytes into this byte? How do I do that? Append? Isn't there an append function? I think I read about that at one point when we were learning. Go append, go put go put bytes into another byte slice. I'm making these words up, people. And everyone watching, just know I'm new to Go, so anything I'm doing, don't take it as the way to do it. Yeah, okay. So that's how you would do it. You'd say append b equals append b and ASCII bytes. I wish I had signature. Like, I wish I could highlight this and see what the signature of append is. Wayfaring Tinno. Whoa, whoa, go. How's it so far? Yeah, it's been good, man. Yeah. No complaints so far. I don't think I like naked returns, which is a thing I guess Go supports, but what are you gonna do? Cannot use ASCII bytes as byte value and argument to append? Why not? What have I done wrong? Go append slice of bytes to another. I'm using Google like ChatGPT right now. Oh, you have to spread them. Run. On Kiva and Kiva, I think is how you say your name. Thanks for subbing. I appreciate it. All right, I'm not doing something right. Got byte 0 at offset 0. Want A. I'm just throwing stuff at the wall right now. How does this work? Okay, I'm just gonna ask Gemini because I don't know how to do this. I don't know if I'm failing as a learner or if the docs are failing me as a teacher. I'm trying to implement a read function in Go to satisfy the io.reader interface. This read function needs to return the bytes of the ASCII character A infinitely when called. I'm currently doing this. I don't think I clearly understand how to read additional bytes into the passed in byte slice. What's up, Caleb? Caleb's one of our illustrious YouTube members. We appreciate having you, Caleb. Naked returns. That's so uncivilized. Get them some clothes, right? I mean, come on, Go. Grow up already. Naked returns. All right. Let's see. That's a good question. Your current implementation doesn't quite work because the io.reader interface expects you to fill the passed-in slice B with data, not append to it. Appending creates a new slice and assigns it back to the local variable B, which is discarded when the function returns, leaving the caller's original slice unchanged. Of course it does. The key is to iterate up the length of the slice B and assign the byte for A in each position. Oh, okay, because the caller gets to determine the size of the slice passed in. Yeah, so they can pass in whatever size they want, and I just need to work with it. The byte value for ASCII A is 65. Okay. N is the number of lengths read. Man, I completely foobarred that whole implementation up. Fuck. I completely fucked that up. Did you have to sew last time, Steven? Me and my friends were making jokes that we changed genders while sewing. I've never had to learn how to sew. But sewing shouldn't be gendered though, right? I mean, sewing, I think there's probably professional, clothes makers who are men, and there's professional clothes makers who are women, and sewing goes beyond obviously clothes. It goes to all different kinds of things that you make in this world that have to be stitched. So I don't think you should gender it to one gender. I think that's kind of like an old, outdated thought, guys can sew, women can sew. I've never had to sew, though. I never had to learn how to sew. I took a home ec class in middle school, and I think we learned how to use a sewing machine in that class for like a week or something. But yeah, I've never sewed before. Let's see. The girls were sewing extremely easily. Well, I mean, if they have more reps, right? I'm sure not all girls are excellent sewers. I'm sure if you practice sewing, you're an excellent sewer. But I don't think being good at sewing has anything to do with your biology. All right, so let's walk all this back. Let's walk all this back, and let's say var A is equal to A. I think they used a constant, but I haven't learned about those yet. Gemini used a const char a byte. And I can probably just do A like that. And then I can say for I range. So for each index returned by ranging over B, we are going to index into B, assign A to that. Cannot use a variable of type rune as a byte value. So if I did something like this, byte, does that work? Yay, we did it! Thank you, Gemini. Okay, so what did I learn here? So what I learned here is when I'm getting a slice in, and I want to think about adding to it, so when I think about reading bytes into an array byte, I need to think about mutating that slice or mutating that underlying array instead of trying to append to it. And then what else did I learn? I can make a byte from a character using this syntax. Yeah, I think that's good. I way overcomplicated it though. I'm trying to program like I'm in C# and I'm not. I'm in Go and I need to think like a Go programmer. A common pattern is an io.reader that wraps another io.reader, modifying the stream in some way. For example, the gzip.newReader function takes an io.reader, which is a stream of compressed data, and returns a pointer that also implements io.reader, a stream of the decompressed data. Okay. Implement a ROT13 reader that implements io.reader and reads from an io.reader, modifying this is why programming fucks people up. This sentence right here, or this phrase right here. Implement a ROT13 reader that implements io.reader and reads from an io reader. People are like, what the hell did you just say? Modifying the stream by applying the ROT13 substitution cipher to all alphabetic characters. The ROT13 reader type is provided for you. Make an io.reader by implementing its read method. Okay, so I guess I need to know how this cipher works. ROT13 is a simple letter substitution cipher that replaces a letter with the 13th letter after it in the alphabet, in the Latin alphabet. So what does that look like when you implement it? So for ASCII purposes, right, that's just offsetting by 13. It's like A is 65, so 13 would be 78, and so you just, I think that's how ASCII works, right? ASCII byte number, or just ASCII number. Capital A is 65, so if I add 13 to that, I get 78, which would be in, which I think lines up with what I just read in that. Shoot. Yeah, A becomes in. Okay, cool. So that's relatively easy to implement from a substitution perspective. Okay. I think I can do this, but unfortunately I have to wrap up the stream because I have to go pick up a family member from their house at 7:45 and run them down to the Kansas City airport for a trip. I can't believe the fact that Artwork Studio is the only one chatting and there's 46 people here. This is very surprising to me. We don't normally have this. So this is, I keep thinking nobody's here, and then I look at the concurrent user count and it says there's 46 people here, which is awesome, which is totally fine. You guys just, do your thing. Let's see. Housekeeping things. We're going to keep learning Go. I thought we'd get through a tour of Go today. It doesn't look like that's going to happen. It may not even happen tomorrow. We still have to get through generics and concurrency, and those seem like they could be big topics. But the plan is to continue to learn Go, and we're going to continue to do this for the month. We have 30 days, so we have plenty of time to get through all this. This is kind of the learning plan. So if you're going to hang out on my stream, this is kind of what it's going to be like for a little bit. We're going to be doing the docs and tour of Go. Then we're going to be doing the Learn Go with tests. I imagine this is going to take us another couple days to get through at least. And then we're going to actually start solving some problems, which will be fun. We'll spend a few mornings working through some advent of code problems, and then maybe we'll take a look at some projects. But this is basically what my stream is going to consist of for the foreseeable future. Housekeeping. So first and foremost, the best way to interact with me or chat outside of this stream is to join our Discord, which stream elements will drop in the chat for those of you who might be interested. You just go to discord.stephenfreeborn.com and you'll be good to go. What else? Schedule. So the schedule is typically 7. Let me add a command for that. Schedule. I currently stream each day from 4:15 a.m. CST to 7 a.m. CST. Sometimes a bit longer on the weekend. On the weekends. And now we should have a schedule command. Schedule. Yeah, so that's the normal schedule. So if you're around and you see me live, please stop in. Even if you're just going to lurk, you don't have to chat, obviously, but if you want to just drop in and say hi, I'll always appreciate that. And I think that's it. Yeah, I don't think I have any other information or news to share. We're going to try to be a Go developer. Yeah, so I'll end with my customary sign-off. First things first, if today is Sunday for you, I hope you have a wonderful Sunday. If it's already Monday for you because Monday is, or because time zones are weird, I hope you have a great Monday. Otherwise, I will likely see you guys tomorrow in tomorrow morning's stream, or maybe in the comments of a video or a short. And with that, I'll leave you guys. All right, Artwork Studios, have a good day, man. Hang in there. And to the rest of you, anybody that's still here, I'll see you guys. Bye, chat. Bye, y'all. Bye. See you guys. Thanks for hanging out. I really appreciate it.